All right, so this is question 6, and I want to just make sure that everyone understands exactly what we're expecting with this. This question is slightly different from what we've asked in the past. Normally, we would ask you, for instance, instead of saying explain Zaitsev's rule, we would have just said, oh, the rule that does X, Y, and Z, give its name, and it would have been a one mark answer. The thing with this question is that each question is at least 4 marks, and there needs to be a level of explanation which is going on here. There are two things here. One, I'm wanting to test that you can explain what Zaitsev's rule is. This is, if I had to do this in an oral exam and I said to you, what is Zaitsev's rule? You'd be able to say, well, it's when we do an elimination reaction, the more highly substituted double bond is favored. So you can give that answer. But the second level to it is that the question actually asks you to use reaction equations. And so here you're going to have to give your own example to explain this question. Now, generally, the way this question is actually set up is that we would give you about 2 marks for the explanation of the rule and another 2 marks for using an appropriate reaction equation. And so you need to kind of get these sorts of things right. Note, none of these 2 questions actually asked you anything about doing mechanisms. So they're not important. So if you're going to do an elimination reaction, well, let's just think about it. We want a major and a minor product, one that's kind of like something like that and something like that would be the result of a Zaitsev elimination with more double bonds. Double bond is more substituted there, and it's on the edge over there. You should know that. So what do the structures look like? Well, you can make them very simple. We could just use what I've drawn up over there. We could make it a little bit more complicated, put a methyl group there, or put an R group, over here to something else. It's not too important. But we need to kind of put the rest on in terms of, well, what did we use to get there? Well, in the reaction, we used a strong base. So for elimination reactions, there are 3 strong bases that we need to know. And the one is potassium hydroxide in ethanol. So if you put KOH in ethanol, it's important that you did that, then that would have been fine. But you could have also put down over here, if you wanted to, you could have put down potassium tertiary butoxide, so this is or you could use sodium amide. These are the 2 very strong bases. So you could put that down as well, but you needed to do something like that. And then, of course, in order to have given this product, these products over here, we would have had to have done elimination. So it needs to make sense. You've got to put a leaving group on, and so the leaving group needs to be here. What are we going to use? It doesn't matter. If you wanted to put an X there, and X equals chlorine, bromine, that would have been fine. Just choose one. We'll just put it's just an example. So we put the bromine in. And so this is a reaction equation that explains Zaitsev's rule. Well, that's incorrect. It represents Zaitsev's rule, but it doesn't explain it. And so you need to actually write down something that and guys, the one thing in chemistry is we do not like long explanations, multi-sentences. You should be able to do an explanation like that in just a few brief words. In fact, try and keep it as brief as possible. So if you want to, you can say Zaitsev's rule, all right, so equals in elimination reactions, say abbreviations, it's fine, so long as it makes sense. In elimination reactions, more highly substituted double bond is preferred. There we go. So, and that something like this would have given you your full marks. All right. Don't spend ages doing this, but you do need to think of a good example that you can use. All right. You should be able to, these sorts of principles you should be able to do. I can't recall. I think this one was done okay, but I think the Fisher esterification wasn't done very well at all. And again, so Fisher conditions, it's catalytic acid. We want to draw this out. So what are we doing? We're forming an ester. So the ester is the product. So here we have, so some ester. Now that's a bit of a boring ester. So whatever you want, just make it a bit more interesting. I don't know, put 4 carbons, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that would have come from this carboxylic acid plus methanol, all right, and it would have gone to the ester. Of course, Fisher esterification is an equilibrium. And we put the water over here, and the acid is a catalyst, and we can even write that a catalyst. All right, so that would be an example of a perfect example for a reaction equation. You could have chosen other esters. Again, you could have put R groups on, and to sort of make it more generic. But if you knew your Fisher esterification, you know that it's an equilibrium, and you would have all these different components in. So you would have got that, and then so explain it. In this case, there's not a lot to explain, other than you should mention that it's an equilibrium, all right, and if we want to make lots of that, we need to maybe say, this is almost bonus marks in my opinion, shift equilibrium to product by, give some examples. Removing water, you couldn't do that in your prac, adding lots of alcohol. All right, so there's not a lot that you can really say about in sort of explaining this, but again, just something that a lot of people did is that with both of these questions is that you don't need to explain mechanisms here. There's only one place in the paper that mechanisms will be asked, and you just need it for that. You don't have to worry about showing any other mechanisms on these sorts of questions. All right, so I hope that helps with question 6. Please, I'm mentioning this on purpose because this style of question is coming up in both exams, and we want you to be able to do this properly. This is a theory type of question. You must be able to explain something and generate an appropriate example of your choice. All right, please answer it neatly. Try and keep the number of words down to a minimum. Don't just start writing something down. Think about it first. Make a few notes on the side somewhere, the couple of things that you want to say, and then just put it down into something that is logical in the way that you are going to line it up. All right.